Springfield's Talk 1041. Welcome to Thursday, everyone. My name is Nick Reed. You can catch us on the YouTube channel, Springfield's Talk 1041. See us there. While you're at YouTube, you can look up the Jen Show. I sat down for an interview. I think that might be the very first really sit-down, long-form video interview that I've ever done. It's the first one. I'm very exclusive, see.
Look at you.
I'm very, very exclusive.
You're moving
because
up in the
I
world.
turn down these offers constantly.
I know that.
They just are never ending.
They're always in my inbox. So you say no.
Yep, most of them I don't even see, but this one, I was like, you know what? This rises to the level. And so I sat down a couple of weeks ago for an interview, and that launched Tuesday, I believe it was. You can see the interview on, again, YouTube. We've got it also posted on my Facebook page, which is Nick Reed, the KSGF Facebook page. Must read headlines, ksgf.com. But if you want to, again, just go to YouTube, and it's called The Ginge Show. It's episode 14. It's the most recent episode that has been posted. You can watch it there. There's some talk of politics, but other things that aren't political, more personal things as well. And I hope you enjoy it. I want to have more views than any of the other interviews, and I think about halfway there.
You're getting there.
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'll be embarrassed if I don't.
Well, you're at like 230.
Yeah.
So
and I don't know if there is any particular sort of trajectory. After 3 days, they really start to get traction. If there is any consistent pattern there, or if the bulk of views come within the first couple of days. But I'd like to get over 500. That's my goal. So if you've watched it, pick up a separate device and watch it again. No, I'm kidding.
Are you telling me to?
I'm just kidding. Yeah. How far into a video do you have to watch for it to count as a view?
I feel like it'd probably have to be halfway.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I'm not sure if it's a percentage of time, like 50% or 10%, or I don't know the answer to that. I'm sure he does, Ginge. Anyone that has a YouTube channel and wants those views up probably have an idea.
So
but I don't know.
Traditional YouTube videos, a view is generally counted when a user watches it for at least 30 seconds.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Well, yeah, that's not too much then. Chrissy Fonecki, she will be joining us. We've also got Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. That in the 8 o'clock hour tomorrow, Friday. I mean, boy, we're looking for some nice weather, especially getting into next week. We'll have a look at that first alert forecast coming up. But tomorrow, Scramblers Friday Road Show. If you want to come out and join us as we broadcast live. And I'm saying this out loud because I haven't talked to you about it yet, because I haven't talked to you since I said, we'll do that once again this year. I am, again, going to be emceeing the Christian County annual Lincoln Days.
Okay.
And as always, they would like to donate a table.
Okay.
And Don Carricker, he had texted me yesterday. I was on the way to our first lunch bunch at Godfather's, and he's like, I get a text from Don Carricker saying, if you're not on the clock, can you give me a call? And so I said, on the clock? What are you talking about? And he's like, well, I didn't want to bother you off work hours. Like, first of all, I don't really have traditional work hours. But secondly, who cares? I said, you don't have to call. What are you talking about work hours? How long have I known you? And so he goes, well, it's kind of work related because it's about the event you're going to be emceeing. And he said, we'll do the tickets. And what we talked about maybe doing, and this is why I'm saying it now, because I don't know if it'd be too early to start tomorrow, is to, on Fridays, allow people to text to win a pair for the KSGF table.
Okay.
And so anyway, that is going to be coming up in about a month. I don't have the exact date off the top of my head. I know it's on my calendar, but it was months ago that I agreed to MC it once again, which I do. As long as I'm available, then I do. And I don't necessarily have the busiest social calendar, particularly on weekends. So it's pretty easy to book me for an event like that if you need me for one. And I'm very, very expensive. I'm joking. I'm not at all. Usually if there's food involved, that's about all that it takes. I want to, coming up play some of the audio that was posted yesterday, and you heard a portion of it at the top of the hour with Town Hall News of Savannah Guthrie and her sister and brother posting this video, which is somewhat a message to her mother as well as any potential would-be abductors. That appears to still be an open question there as to whether that is a legitimate thing. Donald Trump has ordered the feds to use any and all resources necessary in order to help the Guthrie family and local and state law enforcement in the search for the mother. There really aren't any additional details over the last 24 hours. And so things are at somewhat of a standstill there, but we will play some of that audio coming up. Yesterday was the sentencing of the would-be assassin of Donald Trump, Ryan Ruth, 59. He was sentenced to life in prison. He was convicted on 5 counts. 2-week trial back in September, found guilty of attempted assassination of a major presidential candidate, assault on a federal law officer, and multiple firearm offenses. And for that, he will spend the rest of his life in prison. Mentioning this yesterday, the fact that the sentencing was that day, I remarked about how little attention is paid given the magnitude of what it would have meant had he been successful. And of course, there was the assassination attempt in Pennsylvania in which he actually was hit by a bullet, so much closer, but nonetheless, and I suppose arguably because of what happened in Pennsylvania, this assassination attempt seemed less serious because the guy did not get a shot off that hit Trump, and so it's like, oh, well, that's not nearly as close as the other. But it doesn't diminish, or it should not diminish, the severity of the situation itself. And we think about what would we look like today had he been successful? What would the world look like today? You think about that. All of those countries that have ceased their fighting, in which civilians, some for decades, slaughtered hundreds of thousands of people. And those peace deals that have stopped those killings, that would not have happened. The Iranians would still have their nuclear weapons, their nuclear capabilities to put together the weapons. The hostages would either all be dead from October 7th that were being held by Hamas, or they'd still be held underground, being tortured on a daily basis. You certainly wouldn't have had any sort of deal that was put together by the Trump administration, and then the gathering of all these leaders from Europe and the Middle East all coming together in order to put their name to it, to put their approval, their stamp approval on it. You would not have our NATO allies increasing their contribution, their financial contribution to NATO, which makes it stronger. I mean, these are just a few of the things that have occurred, and the border being shut off. None of that can you imagine what this country would look like if, you don't know for sure exactly what would have happened, but I guess the strong argument is that Kamala Harris would have become president of the United States because Republicans would have, I guess at the convention, or that was pre-convention. So at the convention, the delegates would have been faced with deciding who the nominee was going to be, because that's technically what those conventions are for. That's when the delegates cast those votes, and it may vary from state to state what occurs. You have a state that votes, and then the delegates, to a large degree, bound by the vote of the people when they go to the convention. But if that candidate is no longer alive, I'm not sure. There must be something in place, and again, it may vary state to state. I suppose the delegates just get released and what that would have looked like. Who would the nominee have been? Arguably J.D. Vance, because at that point he was already, the vice presidential candidate, and would he have been able to be just with all of the different? And I know in your mind it says, oh well, obviously, but you just don't know. And the massive implications of that, what could have happened had this person succeeded, and the vast majority of Americans, I suspect, didn't even know he was being sentenced yesterday. The upside of it is, I suppose, if you want to look at it this way, the lack of attention paid is this is a guy who, in his writings and much of what he, I guess it was after his arrest, would tell law enforcement, indicated that he really felt as if the world would know his name, and that he was going to be seen as some sort of great heroic individual that altered the course of history, yet the vast majority of Americans couldn't even tell you his name and didn't even know that he was being sentenced yesterday. So any sort of attention that he may have hoping to get certainly did not come his way. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 53. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 34. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 58. And taking a look at Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 51.
Regarding what the country would look like had Trump been successfully assassinated, and that led to somehow a Kamala Harris win and Tim Walz, of course, in the White House, what that would look like. A Pyramid Roofing Company talk and text line noting we'd probably have Somalis running healthcare in this country, or daycare, early education.
Yeah, leering centers.
Learning centers all over the country. Tim Walz that would be his real focus and project as the vice president. Yeah, he'd be the czar of early child care, and it would be all Somali run all across the country. Yep, that's astute observation. President Donald Trump responded to the disappearance of NBC correspondent Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy, as the family released an emotional video pleading for her return. The president revealed that he'd spoken with Guthrie and her family, adding he directed all federal law enforcement to aid in the search. Quote, I spoke with Savannah Guthrie and let her know that I'm directing all federal law enforcement to be at the family's and local law enforcement's complete disposal immediately. We are deploying all resources to get her mother home safely. The prayers of our nation are with her and her family. God bless and protect Nancy. Now, there are going to be a lot of people on the left that just hate this, which is sick. Let's be honest, they will. They won't care that it is potentially going to be very helpful. And if that additional help from federal law enforcement helps find her, certainly they will never want to give any credit. And they certainly would never acknowledge that maybe that actually came from a good place. It will be cynical. Well, he just did it because of this, or he just did it because of that. Because, of course, that's what dictators do. They desperately try to win over the people as opposed to just being a dictator. People who have not allowed themselves to be so overcome with hatred know one thing about Donald Trump, and that when it comes to individual people, particularly family members, he really, truly does lead with his heart. He is someone that has a deep connection and appreciation and just very deep love when it comes to family and a recognition of other people and that love and the pain that comes along with family losses. We played audio some time ago of an interview that Kathy Griffin did, in which she was talking about a time that her husband, Frank, I think there were death threats against him. And so, Donald Trump was friends with them, and Frank was really worried about his wife, perhaps being harmed because these were evidently pretty credible death threats. I don't know why he was receiving them. But at the same time, he wanted her protected, but he didn't want her to be scared or worried about the legitimate nature of these death threats. And so he was talking to Trump about he wasn't sure what to do, and Trump said, "No, I'll take care of it." And according to her telling of the story, she had, I think, just had one of her children. And so Trump phoned her up and said, "Hey, something along the lines of, I know you just had, children and everything that goes into that and so forth, and you need a break. And so I'm sending a helicopter to pick you up and bring you to Trump Tower so you can be pampered for a few days." Told her it was just sort of like a gift so she could get away and be pampered so she wouldn't know about the severity of the death threats and at the same time be protected. He didn't ask anything for it. He wasn't even asked to do it, just did it. You hear stories like that about this guy. Not from him. He doesn't tell the stories. It's the people who are directly impacted by it. We played audio of a story, and this was a woman that was recorded years ago, walking the streets of New York, and she was a black woman who told the story about how forever ago, well before Trump was even entertaining the notion of running for president, but as wealthy as Donald Trump is and was, he still would walk the streets of New York, and he came upon her, and she was just crying and sobbing. She was on her way to go kill herself. She was going to go jump off a bridge. And her telling of the story was he saw her in distress, stopped and talked with her, talked to her, gave her some money to go. She needed food or something, and talked her off the cliff, if you will. Say, he didn't know me. I was just some woman crying on the side of the street. And he saved my life. I mean, there are numerous stories out there like that. And it's just unfortunate that there's so many people out there that have allowed the fog of their own hate to prevent them from recognizing that while they may not like Donald Trump because of some of his policies, and they may not like the way that he talks like a New Yorker, whenever he's combating someone, but they refuse to see that this is somebody that actually has a consistent track record of, without seeking any attention for it whatsoever, just helping people who he feels need help. He feels for them. That's something he's demonstrated through his actions. And I think the thing about it that's most remarkable is, again, you don't ever know about any of these stories because he's told them or because he wrote about them in a book, like most politicians. It's because oftentimes years later, the recipient of that compassion and kindness tell the story, which tells you it wasn't for show. It wasn't out of any selfish motivation. It was just out of kindness. And I think about some of the people that rail on Donald Trump for being a horrible person and think to myself, how often have you reached out and just some random person that you've seen crying on the street to see if they needed help? How often have you, when you learned that somebody's, husband or wife were in trouble, that you said, you know what, let me help you take care of this, and just use your own resources and time in order to help protect them? How many times have you done that? Now, I want to play, coming up after the break, the audio that was there was a video posted. Savannah Guthrie, along with her sister and brother. Savannah Guthrie was the bulk of it. Her sister made a few comments, and they had typed out or written down what it was that they were going to say. The brother, he didn't really say anything until the very end, in which they were all saying, "We love you, Mom." But I do want to play a portion of what it is that she had to say, which is a statement partially directed to her mother, partially directed to the individuals who had delivered the ransom notes, and this essential plea to, okay, if you really do, if this is legit, we need something to know that this is legit. We're here. You got our attention, so let's move forward with this. That coming up. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 53. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 34. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 58. And for Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 51.
Before the Savannah Guthrie audio of the video that she and her siblings posted regarding her missing mother, we were talking about Trump and how Trump has ordered federal authorities in any resources that are needed by local authorities or state authorities in Arizona. He's ordered them help out and do what you can in order to help the situation. And so one of the texts coming in saying, while it's all good that President Trump is sending resources to find the missing person, I look at it as, why aren't you sending resources to finding other missing people, exploited children, etc.? It brings an easy dig to say Trump only cares about famous people. Well, he has done that. In fact, last year, 129 plus thousand of the children that went missing under the Obama administration were found and located. Now, critics will say, well, they weren't all, not all of them turned out to be lost. It's just that the government, these were children that were supposed to be tracked by the government because of the, like with immigration, illegal immigration and the kids and a lot of them fell under that umbrella. And so what was discovered, they would still try to find them. And a lot of them they found, okay, they weren't actually missing. It's just the government had lost track of them and didn't know whether they were missing or not. Had they been sold into sex slavery? And so the point is that, the Trump administration didn't get in there and say, oh, well, it's probably just a paperwork issue. We won't worry about it. They said, we need to make sure that these kids are where they are supposed to be. And if they're not, we need to find them. And a lot of them were being held as slave labor, sex slaves. And then some of them, again, it was discovered, okay, they are safe. We just had lost contact with them. And so these things do happen. They have been happening because of the Trump administration. Now, anyone can be forgiven for not knowing that. Because, as you can imagine, while the Trump administration has put out press releases, and Kristi Noem has talked about this, Tom Homan has talked about it, the media obviously does not want to highlight it because that is a success of the Trump administration. And at the same time, it also highlights the complete failure of the previous administration and how dangerous the previous administration was for innocent people, including children. Now, I want to play for you a bit of the audio here, and I'm doing it for a couple reasons. One, it's a pretty big thing going on, leading in a lot of the news right now. But there's another reason I want to play it for you, and I'll explain afterwards. This is not the video in its entirety. The video is about 3.5 minutes long, or the message, I should say, and it starts out with Savannah, and then her sister speaks a little bit, and then it goes back to Savannah, and it's the second part in which Savannah is speaking that I want to play for you because it's sort of the bulk of the messaging on it, and here is that portion of the video that was posted on. It was obviously put online and is being carried by other media outlets across the nation.
Our mom is our heart and our home. She's 84 years old. Her health, her heart is fragile. She lives in constant pain. She is without any medicine. She needs it to survive. She needs it not to suffer. We too have heard the reports about a ransom letter in the media. As a family, we are doing everything that we can. We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen. Please reach out to us. Mommy, if you are hearing this, you are a strong woman. You are God's precious daughter, Nancy. We believe and know that even in this valley, He is with you. Everyone is looking for you, Mommy, everywhere. We will not rest. Your children will not rest until we are together again. We speak to you every moment, and we pray without ceasing, and we rejoice in advance for the day that we hold you in our arms again. We love you, Mom.
We love you, Mom. Stay strong.
We love you.
All right. Again, that is Savannah Guthrie, a message there, a portion of the video that she put out with her two siblings, which you could hear there at the end. And of course, you can hear in her voice what any child with a missing parent that is presumed to be in danger, if even still alive, just that. Yeah, I mean, they say it. I'm sure it's true. You can't understand. You can't describe what that is like until it actually happens to you. The visuals of it as well. I mean, you can hear it. It's almost like it's her as the little girl. Going back to that vulnerable state and needing your mother, and you can almost just a little bit in the body language sense that. Part of the reason that I wanted to play it is because some of this may seem obvious. We all, because of the nature of things and because of people's own behavior at times, we tend to see people in a very one-dimensional way that really isn't human. We see a lot of us, Savannah Guthrie, like, oh, well, she's mainstream media. And not that that has any bearing on the situation itself, but because of the way that our culture approaches political and social stories, and this divide has been created. We all kind of become caricatures to one another, and it is easy to at times realize, oh wait, there is so much more there, and so you watch a video like that, and it's really easy to forget, oh, this is somebody that's a mainstream media person that is out there and biased and hates Trump, and because they're part of this. And it isn't even about recognizing goodness, just something else in a person. Like, here's a human being. This is a person with family and loved ones. And wait a minute, this is somebody that's more than just a person who's on the news. And that may seem obvious. Part of the problem, however, that we do have in our society today is that we do, it maybe in our heads we know it if we think about it, but our emotional reactions are to the caricature. That's one of the reasons the internet and social media is so nasty, because people will just, they'll make these attacks on one another as if they actually know who the person is, but it's based off of what they think they know about the person or that person's public persona, or in a non-media, non-notoriety environment, all they know is the things that they've posted on social media. And, oh, well, you post this, so that means this is what you are, and that's the person that they attack. And because the humanity part, like, one of the reasons that we used to not have such just real nastiness, and not everyone's this way. And of course, I'm biased, so I see it, the real nastiness coming from the left. You look at the way that they are about people like Melania Trump. There's a whole article in the Federalist about, what is going on with all these nurses, and lists all these nurses that have felt so emboldened with their hatred that they go online and talk about ways to hurt patients that are Trump supporters, or how it is to do physical harm, to ICE agents. And you see that hatred in some of these teachers, and it's always on the left, right? You get this real hatred on the left. And some of that is because when we used to, well, first off, we didn't, before social media, people generally didn't even talk about this stuff anyway. They didn't talk about things that were so divisive. And the reason being is because most people, at least prior to the internet, when it really comes down to it face to face, they don't like having conflict with other people. Some people don't mind it, and of course you will have some people that do like it, but the majority of people, if they are just to sit down and have a conversation with a neighbor or family, or the desire of once upon a time anyhow, most people is, why would you want to talk about something divisive? Why would you want to do that? Why would you want to talk about something? If you have the choice to talk about anything in the world, why would you want to talk about something that stirs up bad and negative feelings? And with the internet, you're not dealing with another actual human being. I mean, you are, but you don't have that. You don't see them. It's different. And unfortunately, some of what has happened is, because the internet is a platform that has allowed people, particularly those that are driven by hate, to, in their minds and hearts, dehumanize political opposition, that has trained their brain to be that way, even in real life now. Which is, you can see it play out. Don't really have to go through the examples of it. And when you have a situation like Savannah Guthrie, who is part of an industry that is very high profile, that is very politicized, and then thereby is viewed oftentimes by people as this one thing, she's part of the anti-Trump. And then you observe a video like that, at least for me, and you get that sort of reminder, oh, wait a minute, this is somebody that's actually more than that. It doesn't mean that she's right when it comes to her political beliefs. I mean, that's a totally separate thing, but we tend to just forget that, I think, at times. We were talking off air. I mean, one of the questions, and I was thinking about this last night. I mean, you think to yourself, well, yes, just as a human being, you hope that her mother will be found, but odds are, right? Odds are, particularly, you hear that 48 hours, like, well, once 48 hours go by, I mean, it drastically diminishes the likelihood that this individual will be found alive. But I tell you, every time I think that, I'm like, Elizabeth Smart. In fact, there's a new documentary out that she and her younger sister, I think, is pretty prominent. And her younger sister was in the bedroom with her when Elizabeth Smart was kidnapped. And how long was she gone? I mean, she had been written off and almost forgotten about by the general public, and here she popped up alive. So it does sometimes happen. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Tom Homan announces drawdown of federal agents from Minnesota after securing unprecedented cooperation from local jails. What is occurring, or at least this appears to be the plan, is, I believe a week ago when it was announced that he was going to be headed up there, seemed to be the most likely scenario. And that is to give the Tim Walz and Fry and these Democrat-run municipalities a way out. The reason, again, and just recap here, some of you know this, but the reason that ICE is roaming through the streets of Minneapolis or other areas of Minnesota is because they were on the search for criminals who the jurisdictions in Minnesota, being a sanctuary city, sanctuary state, would not keep in jail once their time was served, despite a detainer request from ICE. So what occurs is you have somebody that is in the country illegally, and he gets arrested for sexual assault, and his 1-year sentence is up. ICE is like, hey, hold him. He's in the country illegally, and he's a violent criminal, been convicted of it. So we're going to come pick him up. Sanctuary status means that, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to release them back into our neighborhoods. That's why, for example, we were laughing yesterday at Lunch Bunch about these, anti-ICE people, and they're not really going to have much to do because we don't have that problem here. In fact, the story last week about the illegal in this country that shot and killed someone, and ICE had a detainer on them. Greene County didn't release them back into the neighborhood. So, okay, yeah, we'll hold them, and then you come get them. So what is occurring here, and as Tom Homan noted, that unprecedented cooperation is they're going to start holding these criminals for ICE to come and get. This is the whole point. If they had been doing this from the beginning, none of these riots would have occurred. Rachel Good would not be dead. Preddy would not be dead. Those individuals are dead because ICE, they were, and people can point fingers and blame and, okay, who did what, so forth. But the scenario, they never would have even been there protesting because ICE would not have been in those neighborhoods had the local jails respected the detainer of ICE. And that is what has been worked out. Now, if they actually follow through with it, we'll see. But that's what they're saying, okay, now we'll do this. And if that's done, well, of course, all of these additional ICE agents aren't needed there. The whole reason that they've been there is because Minneapolis, Minnesota was not detaining these people. They were not detaining them. And now that they're detaining them, there's no need for those ICE agents there. Now, if, in fact, they do follow through and they start respecting the detainers instead of releasing these criminals back out into the streets, forcing ICE to go into the streets to find them, you think about how completely unnecessary all of this was. How completely unnecessary, other than the only purpose it served was to give Democrats what they felt was some sort of political tool. And 2 people are dead because of it. 100% completely unnecessary. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. All right, we'll have Author of the Week, sponsored by ABC Books in the 8 o'clock hour. Christy Fulnecki will be joining us in the upcoming hour. Anything you miss, podcast, ksgf.com, the app, Spotify, iTunes, all of those places that you find that stuff. Oh, and then, of course, YouTube, where you can watch the show as well. Springfield's Talk 1041 is where you can find us there. Springfield's Talk 104.1. Hello, welcome to the show, everyone. My name is Nick Reed. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Was she with us last Friday? Yeah, she was
Yes.
with us last Friday. So, not that we won't, could always show up at Friday Road Show, but generally every couple weeks or so she joins us and makes herself available, of course, to you through the airwaves. But, I cannot encourage you enough to utilize her expertise when it comes to any sort of questions you may have on home buying, home selling, the timing of things, just little tips. And then if you are at the point you want to maybe put it on the market, have her come do an evaluation of your home. Have her do a walkthrough. And if you do know that you are going to sell your home and you think, well, now I'm just so embarrassed because of the carpeting and the fixtures they're clearly outdated. I don't want Emily to come and think that this house is ready to put on the market. So we're going to go ahead and fix these things. Don't do any of that. Do not do any of that. Because there are some things, particularly when it comes to people's personal taste, that you may spend the time upgrading that they're going to want to change anyway. And so spending the time, effort, and money in order to do that may not help you any. It may not hurt, but other than, you're out the money and the time. And then there are a lot of things that you may think spending money on, you're going to get that back. Or stuff that you don't think you need to fix up, but it's sort of expected. That's where she can help you. So to make that step one, contact her, set up a time for her to come walk through your home, and then you can go from there. Emily Johnson, House Theory Realty. Christy Fulnecki joining us in studio.
Good morning.
Yes, it's been a couple weeks.
It's so dark in here. I
Yes.
can hardly see anything.
Well, that's what happens when you get old.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes your eyesight starts to go a little bit.
Yes, I was in court
On
in
last
another
Thursday?
city. Yeah, Thursday and Friday. Jackson County, Missouri. That's in Kansas City.
Yes.
Good times.
I'm sure
I'm
that
in a town where they don't like me.
you really have quite the tour.
Yes, I do have the tour.
You should have T-shirts made, and on the back you could have a listing of all of the counties that don't like you, that you like a concert tour.
It would be every county. Let me clarify this. My clients in all these places love me. It's just the opposing counsel doesn't like me. The judges don't like me.
It's interesting. A couple weeks ago, I sat down for an interview on the Jen show, and one of the things that he talked about that he didn't realize, and we've known each other for, I don't know, a decade or so, and he didn't realize until he started telling people he was interviewing me how hated I was by a lot of people. And
that's a great thing to discover.
Well, because he doesn't know me that way. He actually, he and I worked together, but he didn't listen to he has his own station, and so he doesn't follow politics and everything. So he just knew me as me. And so he was just kind of shocked by this. And I actually was thinking, that's actually sort of weird. I wonder if there's anyone in the Springfield area that has that many people that really dislike them as I do, just because of the nature of what I do.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about you. So that answers that question.
Actually,
yes, I'm somewhat isolated.
Well, I mean, if you add in satanic temples and all these other places, I really do succeed.
You got the heavy hitters. You got the heavy hitters.
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, it's crazy. But you know what? I'm very proud of that. You should be proud of it too. You know what?
I guess I'm indifferent to it. I'm like, whatever.
And you make people mad, so.
Womp womp.
Hey, that's right.
All right. I want to play coming up. Well, we're going to get news and weather, and then I play this hilarious local news story out of Minneapolis.
Okay.
With some of these lefties that once again you think, is this a parody? Did somebody make this to try and make a point? But no. Yeah. No, well, it's authentic. It's genuine.
You can say one thing.
What?
They're doing all these videos because as an employer, it's an easy way to get rid of your employees. So.
Yeah, to be like, I don't want this. Well, and that's the thing. Oftentimes, particularly with nurses or teachers and people like that, they should be fired. And other people, they say, no, it's free speech. It's like, listen, this isn't about punishment. It's because if somebody is so emotionally unhinged, they cannot control themselves enough to not go on online and say these horrible things about how much they hate this category of people and that they won't help them if they need medical help. How can you expect them to do their job? Like it isn't punishment.
Yeah.
It's this person clearly is not qualified for the job. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 53. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 34. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 58. And taking a look at Saturday, mostly sunny skies with a high near 51.
Christy Volnecki joining us this morning.
Yes,
I thought I'd
good
play.
morning.
There's a local CBS news affiliate in Minnesota, and they recently did a report on Democrat activists or anti-immigration enforcement, anti-border enforcement, lefties, anti-ICE. But they had decided the left-wing activists, to set up roadblocks and checkpoints in their neighborhood, creating a border so that they could make sure who was coming in or out. Now, I mean, the irony of it and the fact that they are too stupid to evidently recognize it here I mean, just you listen to some of the things that they say, and you're like, are you? You're making an argument for border enforcement.
We are literally creating a place that we know who's coming and going in and out of our neighborhoods.
In the middle of the road at 32nd and Cedar Avenue, a makeshift roadblock turned this intersection into a roundabout. Cars slowed as drivers noticed, some honked, others asked questions, and one man brought food for the people standing watch. Hi, thank you so much. How did it make you feel just seeing a community checkpoint in your neighborhood?
Well, it felt fine. I don't have any trouble with folks helping out.
Wade Haynes has been standing at this corner twice a day for one reason: to stand up against ICE activity and keep his community safe. He chose this corner. Others chose this intersection.
It's kind of inspiring. Wow, okay. We've got folks out there who are kind of taking care of us, looking out for us. That's good.
But Minneapolis police stepped in, clearing the roadblock and restoring flow of traffic.
Honestly, I'm kind of sad about it.
Still, residents say the roadblock was necessary.
We need to keep our neighbors safe, so we will be doing this again.
That's so ridiculous.
I love the guy. He's like, well, I think it's great. It helps keep us safe. So borders, checkpoints.
Well, it doesn't. Nothing. They
making sure people that come in and out who are who are supposed to be there versus those who aren't. And it's like, how do you not understand that what you're doing, what you are explaining here and describing is border security,
yeah.
which you are against?
I mean, nothing they do makes sense. Are you really surprised?
They're so stupid.
I know. That's right.
I mean, it really does boil down to complete stupidity.
Do you watch the Johnny, when he says, here's Johnny, he's on, not Gutfeld, but Jesse Waters.
No.
And he walks around. It was kind of like the jaywalking thing.
Okay, I've seen him before.
And he was asking people, about, well, if you lived in Minneapolis, and what do you think about ICE? And so they're going through ICE out. And he's like, now, what if one of the criminals breaks in your house? What are you going to do? Well, call the police. Oh, really? I mean, these people, they don't even think.
I know.
Like,
they're so dumb.
This is doing.
So
They're
dumb.
Oh,
right.
Really? And a couple of them are sitting there like, what?
That's the
so
thing.
We cannot critically think in America.
I don't mind having disagreements with people who at least think about their position. They may be wrong, but can say, well, here's why I believe what I believe. It's just the stupidity of these people.
I know.
That have no clue what's going on. It's as if there's some massive decision that's going to be made, and you have the opportunity to make your argument before some tribunal. And on the opposite side is a 6-year-old, but they're who has no clue what they're talking about, obviously. But they're treated as if whatever they say is perfectly reasonable. You'd be like, what world are we living in? They don't even know what they're talking about. And that's how it is with these morons.
Well, did you say the one where I can't remember if it was this week or last week, the black guy in the truck, and they were interviewing him. He said, I'm just trying to get to work. I don't know what's going on here.
Well, did you see all the white Democrat activists that surrounded that black ICE agent, calling him the hard R N-word?
Oh, I did hear that.
Oh, on numerous occasions, yeah. So there were probably half a dozen or more surrounding a black ICE agent, and they were more than once using the N-word at him.
Well, weren't the ICE agents, weren't they Hispanic that were involved with the woman?
I mean, in all likelihood, because the number of Hispanics in ICE is disproportionately higher than the actual population. And so that's
wondering, I know we've talked about this so many times.
For a group of white supremacists, there's a ton of minorities.
What world do these people do for a living? I mean, welfare? Like, how do they survive? I'm wondering, like, you see them standing out there acting so ridiculous. And then some of these women, I'm like, are they stay-at-home moms? Like, do they have another source of income? How are they able to stand out there and protest all day long? Are they doing
whatever their job is? It isn't anything that involves critical thinking, or at least I hope not.
I don't know, but this whole thing with that male nurse,
Oh, he's not the
video.
only one. I mentioned there is. I mentioned this earlier. Let's see if I printed it all.
This is what I was thinking when I was watching. I know. Can I say this real fast?
Yeah.
I was thinking this. These are the people that were left after all the people got fired for the mandatory vaccine.
That's
so
a good
all the
point.
Megan people got kicked off, right? And then these are the people that are left.
Well,
thank you.
That kind of makes sense. While not everyone who got the vaccine is a liberal, anyone who left because they weren't, they were kind of gauging it by science and they're like, I don't really know about this, and were forced to leave, certainly weren't liberal. Those were conservative individuals.
Right, exactly.
Well, what does that increase?
What
does that increase the percentage of left-wingers that are working in these hospitals?
Yeah.
And again, there are a lot of conservatives that went ahead and got the vaccines and the jab, just because it's not a vaccine, but you do what you lost, all of those you lost certainly weren't liberals. Yeah. And so that does increase the likelihood that you are going to come into contact with one of these people. But the Federalist has an entire piece. Why are so many nurses wishing harm to their political opponents? And I mean, it's just listing one after another, after another, after another. And what's the thing that's so scary about it is the fact that they go on social media. Because and they talk about, this is how they get caught. They post this stuff. They post themselves talking about doing harm to people with whom they disagree in their capacity as a medical professional. Now, you and I look at that like, how could they be so dumb as to not think they get caught? That tells you the culture and environment they're in.
Yeah,
they feel they don't think they'll get in trouble because the environment that they are in, which that's the scary part. These are people that evidently work in hospitals that sort of mindset is prevalent enough that they don't recognize talking about it out loud is going to be problematic.
Yeah, they feel empowered to do it.
That's the scary thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just can't even believe some of those women that were making those comments.
They're not. These are emotionally unhinged individuals that are detached from humanity.
It's a good way to weed out the workforce. But then this,
if they did. The problem is they don't. Well, and see, that's back to the original point.
Administrative leave or something, and then bring him back.
But again, the fact that they feel comfortable openly talking about it doesn't prove, but it suggests that whatever environment they're working in is run by like-minded people that make them feel so comfortable in those beliefs that it doesn't strike them as problematic to talk about it publicly.
That's so scary.
It is.
And then the one male nurse that had I don't know where he was from, and one picture he didn't have a shirt on or something, and he had a mask like underneath his chin. And then when I guess it came out or he was fired, then he did another video. I can't believe I'm fired. I did so well at my job. I'm like, what?
It's like,
obviously you look at
it, it's an authoritarian mindset, and it's interesting because one of the stories that has come out of Iran is the fact that people who are protesting for liberty in Iran that end up getting shot or wounded by the authoritarians are afraid to go to the hospitals because they're afraid that while in the hospitals, the pro-authoritarian folks will harm them, will kill them off.
Wow,
well, now you've got increasingly people who aren't on the left in this country afraid, what nurse am I going to get? What doctor am I going to get? And so you have that same sort. It's not as prevalent here as it is in Iran, but those elements are certainly existing.
Oh yeah, I mean that's so scary. And we have a similar thing in my profession with attorneys. Oh yeah.
Well, and teachers we're seeing it. I mean, they have psychologists, psychiatrists. I mean, the left has been very successful at spreading that cancer of themselves into these different professions, and that's why these things are occurring increasingly. We're going to take a break. I want to play a bit of audio. I've just decided one of my very favorite people is Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
Oh, he's awesome.
And if you had ever told me that there would be a day where one of the most colorful figures is the Secretary of the Treasury, I would have thought to myself, I know. Yeah.
A numbers person.
And he's just, the thing is, he's such a sassy smart mouth.
I know.
I mean, and it is hilarious. And it was on.
It come from him, like his kind of personality.
And from what I understand, from people who would be in the know, he is not an easy person to work with, around, or for. And, of course, he's the one who is believed to have clocked Elon Musk in the White House. And then he also got into a real screaming match with someone else at the White House once, and these are things that people they're like, oh yeah, that fits with him. I wouldn't want to work with him or for him, but I think I'd like to be his friend to after work get together with and hear his stories. So he was testifying before a congressional hearing yesterday. I want to play some of that audio next. I'm Nick Reed. I want to play some audio. What is there? I mean, there are a lot of people in this administration that I like for different reasons.
Yeah.
Just in terms of sheer smart mouthness, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary. Yeah, and what was it he said about Gavin Newsom when he
Sparkle.
He was like a comment. Oh.
Sparkle Ken Barbie doll.
And the American Psycho character, Bateman, Patrick Bateman. Yeah, Patrick Bateman. But then he also referenced the fact that probably the only person in California that knows less than about the economy than Kamala Harris. He just kept rolling with it.
He just comes up. He really is a speechwriter, but he's really funny.
And all right, and so it's about a minute and a half. Representative Stephen Lynch was trying to grill him over something, and he gets these people so upset. There's another bit of audio where some other member of Congress got to screaming at him because he just manages to get under their skin, which is hilarious. I know. Like he seems to publicly keep his cool generally.
He seems like he's so calm.
Which is funny because I think that's deliberate. I think he does, and I say this based off the fact that behind the scenes, he apparently is not like that. So that makes me think, which gives me a greater appreciation for all of this. Because what it tells me is that he stays calm to piss him off. You know what I mean? Like he does that deliberately. And so now this is about a minute and a half, which largely it's the Democrat congressman from Massachusetts that's kind of really railing on him, but it's the very end of it that makes it all worth it. So here's the exchange from yesterday.
Well, I think the Biden administration had an extreme...
Sir, please be responsive to my question.
I am. I'm trying, sir, and this back and forth is just eating your time, that the Biden administration had an extinction policy for crypto...
This is when Trump came into office. I'm going to go to the next question because your answers on... Mr. Chairman, the answers have to be responsive if we're going to have a serious hearing here.
Well, the questions have to be serious.
Well, those are 100 dismissals of cases that the Trump administration came in and executed in their first weeks in office. Like that. All of a sudden, all these crypto cases went away. The SEC was dropping cases. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau dropping cases. And well, sir, look, you're on FSOC with all the heads of these agencies. This should be a serious question to you. Trust should be a serious question and a serious issue for the financial services industry, especially as the Secretary of the Treasury. Well, that's an important. No, this is my time. I haven't asked any more questions. I haven't asked you any more questions.
It's the gentleman from Massachusetts.
I'm trying to get to my next question.
Could you speak a little louder? I can't hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
All built up. Just worth it. Could you speak a little louder? He's great. Yeah, like I said, I don't think I'd want to work for him or with him, but I'd love to be friends with the guy, to sit around after work and just hear him tell stories about.
This is why people hate Congress. Because, I mean, really, you have somebody up there that you can get information from. And for one thing, when you're asking a question, be specific. What cases are you talking about? Can you give me a specific instance?
Well, they don't want. These aren't in. Yeah, these hearings.
They pay people to do this.
These hearings rarely are ever about actual inquiries any longer. It's about trying to box people in, trying to make political points, and I think most people are aware of it. Got a traffic update. More with Christy Fulnecki coming up. I'm Nick Reed.
Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 53. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 34. For your Friday, sunny skies with a high near 58. And taking a look at Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 51.
We're watching reruns with the girl child had on, I think, Hulu, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Did you ever watch that show? Adam Sandberg is like a cop show. Yeah. She's always loved.
So funny.
Yeah.
I've watched it a long time.
And she's just always loved cop shows. I always loved them. And so Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I'd never watched it before. I knew of it because I like Sandberg some. And so she'll go through these cycles, these phases, and she's back on to watching that. And we're watching an episode yesterday, and there's this one gal who plays an officer, and she's like very hardcore, very like stone-faced, no personality. She's gruff, no emotion, and she was talking about she was suspicious of this new cop. She said that guy's bad news, and he's like, why? And she goes, because I'm attracted to him, and I'm only attracted to psychos. And she listed off a name of different people, and one of the people that she listed was the ShamWow guy that she was attracted to. And so I said, he's running for Congress down in Texas right now. And the girl she wasn't sure who the ShamWow guy was, but of course my wife knew. And then, I kid you not, so today I get to work and I see a story about how his first campaign ad has dropped.
Oh, really?
And yes, and so now for those that don't know who the ShamWow guy is, he's also the Slap Chop guy. He was a guy maybe 15 years ago or so.
It was a while ago.
He was really well known as an infomercial guy. And the ShamWow, it was this material that would soak up tons of water. And so, yeah,
I was amazed.
and he had
at
spiked
this.
hair,
Yeah.
and he always wore sort of what I think of back in the day of like 20 or 30 years ago. You'd go to these big convention centers where they would sell products, and there'd be somebody with a mop out there, and they'd have the sort of the microphone, a head microphone on,
right.
so that they could talk with a little speaker, and he would always wear those in the commercials. And then there was Slap Chop, which he was promoting after the ShamWow, and it was this little device that you put your onion in or your tomato in, and you slapped it down, and it would chop it real fast. So, and then he got arrested for, I forget what it was for. We talked about this a few weeks ago. And anyway, he's running for Congress against a Republican incumbent who's running for re-election. But this guy's like 84 years old. And he's like 84 years old. And so this is the first official campaign ad and the visuals are great, so we'll get it posted, but the audio gives you an idea.
Against discretionary funding. Instead, vote for me, a guy who's not half dead. I'm going to soak up the swamp, clean the house, and pick up those liberal tears at the same time. I'm going to slap chop the nuts out of the woke, making less blue-haired commies and more red-blooded Americans. Vote for me so I can represent you and the ones that can't stand up for themselves.
Paid for by Offer Bid ShamWow Shlomi for Congress.
Now, the end, the part, the visuals are great. The part where he says standing up for those who can't stand for themselves, and you're like, and then the voice says, "Vote for ShamWow guy." It is a sonogram, and it is an unborn baby that looks at the camera and says, "ShamWow guy."
Oh my gosh!
Now, do you know who is in the primary against him?
Who?
That Valentina gal who ran for.
Really?
I always forget what did she run for here statewide? Was it Secretary of State?
It was Secretary of State.
Yeah.
Or state auditor. It was one of the two. Was it
Shane?
Yeah. She was against whatever.
Shane?
Yeah, that's right. It was Shane Scholler. And she's running in that primary as well.
So wait, where did she? I thought she lived in Missouri.
She
No,
did.
she moved.
She moved to Texas.
Oh, okay, I did not know
What
that.
Valentina? What is?
Gomez.
Gomez.
Used to watch her videos all the time.
Oh, I followed her.
And
I invited her on the show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was gonna come on, but I don't remember why it happened. But it didn't happen.
Just like, look at this.
Oh,
hilarious.
She's something. She was at because I was shown a video that actually was taken by Matt Gaetz when he was still in Congress, and he had come up here just to watch her at a Lincoln Days, and
really?
Because she was so off the hook. And at the Lincoln Days, she starts calling out high-profile Republicans that are in the crowd, including accusing one of having an affair on her husband. I mean, just like it was. Oh, hilarious.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so if those of you aren't familiar with her, I recommend you look her up. She makes videos. I think she's originally from Columbia, not Missouri, but the country Columbia. Yeah. I could be wrong on that, but I want to say that.
Right.
Okay. And so she, was here and ran, and then she's down in Texas. Oh yeah, but I mean, she
like all off the chart. Like
I mean, one of her common for those who haven't seen her is one of her. what's the best way to put it? Just suggestions is constantly don't be gay. Don't be gay. And she uses what many would consider to be derogatory terms for homosexuals. And she's always like she is pretty adamant that Muslims and homosexuals are pretty problematic in our society, and she makes sure that you know it. I mean, she rips on these people. It is so hilarious. No, but she does not care.
I know.
Does not care. She carries like most of her videos. She's got some weapon of war, as the left would call it. Big gun.
I know my oldest daughter was like, look at this.
Oh yeah,
she's awesome.
So she's running against the slap chop guy, ShamWow guy, in that primary against the 84-year-old Republican that apparently.
What district is it?
I don't know, but I don't know if there are others running in the primary. I'm not sure.
Wow, we'll have to watch that. That's going to be interesting.
More
with those two.
More with Christy Fulnecki coming up here. Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. I want a great home loan. I want a great homeloan.com. All of your home loan needs. Now, one of the characters will, in all likelihood, be joining us tomorrow at Scramblers. Great opportunity for you to, if you want to stop by and ask any questions you may have about refinancing home loans, reverse mortgages, exactly how that works. But if you aren't able to, don't worry. You can always easily reach out to them. I want a great homeloan.com. The site itself has a lot of really informative information. I guess that's a bit redundant to say it that way, but nonetheless, there's stuff there that might help you just have some of your questions answered. But the more in-depth stuff, reach out to them. They're not like the traditional loan officers that aren't really interested in spending a lot of time with you unless they know that you're going to use their services and then they can make money. They are such an information source. So utilize them, take advantage of that. That's why they're there along with their team. Home loans, refinance, and reverse mortgages. I want a great homeloan.com because you do. We've got, yeah.
Oh.
I was just going to say Christy Fulnecki's here.
Oh.
So do you know that I out of curiosity, I was thinking, I wonder if what the latest polling numbers have been for the Democratic presidential nomination. And there were, let's see, at the last week of June, January, so very recently, last couple of weeks, Rasmussen did a poll, Harvard Harris did one, Echelon Insights, and Big Data, and YouGov. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Is this of Democrats?
Yeah, Democrats. Okay. Every one of them except for one has Harris as the choice.
What?
Yes. So the Rasmussen poll has Harris up 14 at 34%, Gavin Newsom at 20, Buttigieg at 10. Ocasio-Cortez at
Judge even in there.
Ocasio-Cortez 7.
Because he can handle train wrecks.
Yes.
Yeah. Then the Harvard-Harris poll has Harris not 39%, Gavin Newsom at 30, Buttigieg didn't register on that one, Ocasio-Cortez at 12, Shapiro at 9. The Big Data poll has Harris at 31, Gavin Newsom at 22, Buttigieg at 12, Ocasio-Cortez at 6, and then the YouGov poll has Harris at 20, Newsom at 17, Buttigieg at 8. The one poll that is not consistent with that has Newsom up, and that is the Echelon Insights poll. Gavin Newsom at 27%, with Harris at 21, and then Buttigieg at 8, Ocasio-Cortez at 9, and then a sprinkling, after that. It's like, how if you're Gavin Newsom, of course all of these people are losers.
I know.
Kamala Harris is the biggest loser of all of them. Gavin Newsom, the one thing he can't talk about is the actual results of his leadership in California.
Burning to the ground.
It's like, you look at these, out of the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because they're the only ones that register every time, except for Buttigieg didn't register one of them. But the Democrat in last place is Shapiro, and he's the only one that arguably has been somewhat successful as governor.
Somewhat normal.
Of course, he's a Jew, so the Democrats certainly can't have him on the ticket.
He has no chance.
But I mean, you look at even Buttigieg, these people, they've all failures.
Of who they are. I mean, look at the people that are out in the streets protesting, supposed protesting. I mean, they're a bunch of criminals. So, I mean, of course they're going to have people that are criminals that represent them and that aren't good at their jobs. I mean, I'm just shocked at Harris, but that's going to be an interesting convention for them to have Harris and Newsom.
I believe there is a very good chance that once again, whomever it is that the Democrats choose, the establishment it will be overthrown. I think there's a good, if they don't choose correctly again, like they did Joe Biden, and then they force Joe Biden out, I think that they will just pick again, and not even let the convention delegates decide. And I'm just laughing to myself because again, I'm hearing this revisit from Democrats about Donald Trump, a danger to democracy. I'm like, you people overturn your own elections.
Yeah.
You people went to court to try to keep Trump off the ballot so the American people couldn't vote. The audacity to claim that you're the defenders of democracy when I don't even know that, frankly, I don't know why they even have the vote at this point. Save the money for the general. You think about the millions and millions and millions of dollars that end up going to a primary that last time they made irrelevant anyway because they just overturned that election. Why don't you just save that money and just tell the Democrats, the voters, your voters, this is who the nominee is going to be. They're going to support that person anyway. The voters have proven it doesn't matter what you do. You can make them go out and vote and then overturn it, and then they will just lockstep. Okay, who do we support now? Kamala Harris. Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't have to waste all the time and money of having elections.
But you know what? The good thing is for us is I think it's going to be harder for them to cheat with Trump in there and all the investigation that they're doing. I think as long as it's, followed up by Congress, but hopefully, and you don't have all the NGO money and all that coming through, hopefully. I don't know.
Never underestimate
Well, that's true.
The level of corruption that they're willing to try and pull off. Now, here's an interesting one that has been relatively consistent, and it's California for the gubernatorial race out there. They have what is called an open primary. Sometimes it's referred to as a jungle primary. So in Missouri, for example, each party has their own little primary, and then each of the major parties, their candidate that wins in the primary goes on the general election ballot. Well, in California, it doesn't work that way. It's one primary for anyone and everyone, and the top two vote getters face off against one another. Now, this has always been a system that has been rigged to help Democrats because of the high number of Democrats. What occurs is you in the general election, you have two Democrats to choose from,
right.
because the Republicans can't get, particularly with the inner city votes, enough votes in order to make it in the top two. But pretty consistently now, in polling for months now, the top two vote getters in the polling are Republicans. And so California is getting they're getting closer, though it's still way
Who
far.
is it?
Yes. So you've got the two individuals, David Binder. Oh no, sorry, wait. Hilton and Bianco. Now Hilton, I don't know a lot about Bianco. Hilton is a sheriff of some county, and currently he's really being hit at by Bianco because and there's photos of him kneeling after the George Floyd thing in his uniform as sheriff.
Whoa.
So
Now
it's a California Republican. So
Grant Cardone was going to. He's been with his hand.
No. So what you've got is, so there is the David Binder research poll, January 17th to the 20th, has Republican Bianco at 17%, Hilton Republican at 14%. Behind that are the Democrats, leading with 11%, Swalwell, of course, another idiot loser who was too stupid to realize he was being spied on by a Chinese woman. Then you have that idiot Porter, that woman who flipped out during the interview and who was abusive towards her staff.
She the one that poured the
hot
water on her.
She's always been known when she was in 11%, tied with Swalwell. This is the woman who was just known in Congress to be the absolute worst member of Congress to work for because of how she treated people.
Maybe homeless people voted for her.
Then you got billionaire Steyer after that, Becerra after that, some other politicians. Then there's the Emerson poll, which is from December, and it had Bianco at 13%, Hilton at 12%, again, the top two Republicans. Then Swalwell actually tied at 12%, Porter at 11%. So, again, of all the Democrats, the two biggest losers are the ones that the Republicans are rallying around, or the Democrats are rallying around. But this isn't inconsistent. We talked about this at the end of last year, that in early polling, the top two vote getters, according to the polling, are the Republicans, and because of the open primary system, if that were to hold, that means that voters in California would only have two Republicans to choose from.
Wow,
now, if one of them is someone who kneeled during the George Floyd stuff wearing his uniform, you're like, okay, what kind of Republican is this? So, that's a whole separate question and issue. But I suspect what would happen if it gets close to the actual primary and this is holding, they will they will force some of these Democrats to drop out. So, either, I don't know which one.
Well, there's a lot of cheating that goes on in their system, too. And I think I had told, I think I had talked about it on the radio. I can't remember, about one of the former FBI agents in Los Angeles talking about, at least the mayor's race, how corrupt that was, and statewide. I don't know. You think so many people are moving out, but maybe the existing Republicans will stand up and do something. Who knows?
Quick break. Traffic. Okay. Chrissy Fulnecki. More with her in moments. I'm Nick Reed. We were talking earlier, I guess it was the 6 o'clock hour, about Savannah Guthrie and her mom missing, and how
Yeah.
a certain amount of time goes by and everyone hopes, but you think, well, in all likelihood. And I mentioned, I think about Elizabeth Smart and how the world had kind of almost even not forgotten about her, but they weren't thinking about her because it was so long. And here she popped back up, and anyway, we were talking about that, and you and your husband actually hosted Elizabeth Smart here sometime ago.
It's been about, I had to look it up. It's 14 years ago, and we brought her to Springfield, and I was helping the development director. It was for Boys and Girls Town, which used to be Great Circle, and so they had we had a big fundraiser, and Eric and I sponsored her to come, and she spoke at Juanita K. And then there was an event at Highland Springs where everybody got to meet her. And it was incredible. That's what we were talking about. I think it was 9 or 10 months or something that she was gone.
Yeah.
But I mean, I sat there when I met her and talked to her, and I thought, how are you even here after being abused and going through everything that she went through? And it is just horrifying, all of the stuff that recently came out with Epstein. But this is an interesting thing because a lot of my cases, because I do all kinds of law, but I do a lot of family law, like highly contested. And I was talking to a forensic psychologist yesterday, and I said, what is it with the sex abuse? I'm getting all of these cases about, and I said, is there an increase with the porn situation and everything? And he said that it's always been there. He said the incest and that it's always been there for at least the last 100 years, but it's just the recently 10, 20 years with the rise of social media and everything. We're shining light on everything that's been going on. But I mean, we definitely have sex trafficking going on in the family law court, but I just have seen the sickest stuff from people in high places that are involved in this. And the thing is, when you have money, you can cover it up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Elizabeth Smart was, it was good, but it's so rampant, this whole, because they talk about there were some pictures that came out, I think it was yesterday, with Epstein, these, not just teen girls, but very, very young girls. And, I mean, I think it's good it's coming out because it's highly what's going on, but I mean, it's so rampant in the music industry and Hollywood and.
Well, yeah, people like Corey Feldman, who for years has been trying to call this out, saying people have no idea how prevalent it is, and they cover it up. And he says big name people that are involved in it. And
well, when Nicki Minaj this week started coming out and calling people out, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm sure she has security, but she just better watch her back. But I think it's good. I mean, the good thing is that all these people are standing up and saying that this is wrong. Yeah. But it's just like it seemed like it was becoming, more sick by the day. So,
Christy Fonecki, as always, it's a great pleasure.
Thank you. Sorry to end on that note.
Us. Yes, I know. We do have Author of the Week in the next hour, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. In the meantime, we'll have news in 60 seconds. I'm Nick Reed. And welcome to Hour 3. My name is Nick Reed. Tomorrow, we'll be at Scramblers doing the Friday Road Show. 6A to 9A, doors open at 6 a.m. If you haven't gotten signed up for the KSGF Godfather's Pizza Lunch Bunch, you can do so at ksgf.com. We had our first one at Godfather's yesterday. It was an awesome time. And you get signed up if you win. We'll contact you and up to 5 of your friends, coworkers, family, whomever you want to bring along. We'll set up a Wednesday, and we'll meet over there at the Springfield location where they've got the all-you-can-eat buffet, salad bar. And that is at ksgf.com. A huge thank you to Godfathers, all those folks over there. They're great. I'm sure they're great at all the locations. That's the one I most frequent. I've not ever been to the Ozark or Nixa location. Oh, no, that's not true. I've been to the Nixa location, actually numerous times. It's just been a very long time. Battlefield is the location I hit when we're wanting it for home, but if it's buffet during the day, I'm in Springfield. That is the location I hit. But Ozark's the one I haven't been to. I know where it is, but have not been to it. Sign up, ksgf.com. We've got Author of the Week coming up, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. Max Your Tax sales event going on at Pinnaker Honda, where you can get into the 26 Honda HR-V for as low as $299 a month. I really genuinely, particularly after COVID, thought we had gotten to the point where if you want a new vehicle, $500 a month minimum. So the fact that you can get into a brand new 26 Honda HR-V for as low as $299 a month is pretty amazing. The brand new 26 Honda Prelude is there as well. The 26 Honda Civic Sedan LX, this is a lease for $199 a month. The Ridgeline, 3.99% APR or $1,500 sales credit on a 26 Honda Ridgeline. And the Certified Dream Deal sales event happening now with rates as low as 1.49% for select certified pre-owned vehicles. There are a tremendous number of fantastic deals going on with the Pinnaker folks. Pinnaker Honda, South Campbell, just south of Walnut Lawn. Tomorrow's a berry day, isn't it? No, wait, it was last week. We didn't have berry.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
I hope
that
he's
yet.
okay.
I hope so too, Barry. If you're out there, those of you, all you listeners out there, if you happen to be stopping by Pinnaker Honda today or tomorrow, and just check, make sure Barry's doing okay. I'm sure he is, but we worry about
We just
Barry.
miss him.
We miss Barry. We worry about Barry. Latest news update.
And the first alert forecast from Ozarks First, meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by St. Clair of the Ozarks Home Improvements. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 53. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 34. For your Friday, we'll see sunny skies with a high near 58. And for Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 51.
I'm Nick Reed, and being Thursday means it is Author of the Week time, sponsored by ABC Books on North Glenstone. And Charles Goyette joins us. He is a New York Times best-selling author and award-winning talk show host. The book, The Empire of Lies, Fragments from the Memory Hole. I appreciate you being here. I know this will go well because you're a former radio guy, so those tend to flow pretty nicely. So out of the gate, already feeling good about this. Where'd you do radio? How long?
I was in Phoenix for a very long time, and spent years on great stations like KTAR and KFYI. There.
The Empire of Lies. What is the overall premise of the book here?
Yeah, the premise is that, in Mark Twain's words, Americans can't have a free republic at home and an empire abroad. But the United States has become a global military empire at enormous cost to the American people. Just to give you an example, I mean, we have a national debt now approaching $40 trillion. In 2024, a little over a year ago, the debt was growing by $1 trillion every 150 days. Now it's growing, Nick, by $1 trillion every 71 days. And there is no prospect for that debt to be paid off other than by printing money and destroying the functional economy of the United States. But all of this is at the expense of maintaining a global American military empire. And when empires get to the end of their ropes and they see rivals rising elsewhere, and they see themselves being challenged and their hegemony is questioned and so on, they react to this as an age-old syndrome. They typically react to it not as a problem, a fundamental economic problem. The empire grows because it is prosperous, it has economic might, its currencies are valuable, its people are making money, it has great riches and opportunity. But at the late stages of the empire, it squandered so much money that its growth slows down. It becomes deeply indebted. You can't hide the debt any longer. And but the leaders of the empire, Washington leadership of the deep state and the establishment and elsewhere, they react to this syndrome of the decline of their empire by ramping up the military arm, by expanding it. They see it as a military challenge to be remedied by more armadas of ship in foreign waters and bigger, more bases all around the world. Trump last week, I think it was, we spend $1 trillion a year now on the visible part of the military. He proposed we up that to $1.5 trillion. Well, we don't have the money, and this is an end-stage syndrome of empires.
As a nation, we've always, in some capacity, utilized our military in different engagements, some much larger than others. So have we always been off on the wrong foot when it comes to this global empire and our active efforts to apparently create it or involve ourselves in it? Or did we at some point go wrong? When did we go wrong? How did that happen?
Well, you could pinpoint a couple of places. I call it after World War II with the creation, for example, of the CIA and the regime changes, the secret coups that it installed in all over the world. A coup in Iran, coups in Central America. The CIA participated in a coup, the so-called general's coup that tried to overthrow de Gaulle in France. And a lot of people take it as an article of faith now that the deep state was somehow involved in the end of Kennedy's life because of his desire to tap on the brakes of the global expanding American military empire by, for example, ending the Cold War and, for example, by getting out of Vietnam. So the subtitle of my book is Fragments from the Memory Hole. That's a reference to that great book, 1984, that everybody was probably required to read in high school. But it's about the dystopian future in which the state rewrites history. You know, there's the Ministry of Love, in which people are tortured and imprisoned. There's the Ministry of Truth, in which the protagonist's job is to rewrite history, changing alliances, sanitizing things that happened in the past that aren't convenient for the leadership today. There are so many examples of this before our very eyes, and I'll just give you one that's very, very recent. Just just over a year ago, there was a $10 million bounty for terrorist activities placed by the United States, had been placed by the United States for many years on the head of a ISIS Al-Qaeda affiliate named Jolani. Yet somehow, unbeknown to the American people, we decided we had to replace Bashar Assad, and so it was characterized by bizarre behavior. You had the Pentagon bankrolling and arming fundamentalists in Syria that were fighting with other fundamentalists who were bankrolled by the CIA. So I guess that's a good deal if you're a weapons manufacturer, but It's not so good for the prosperity of the American people. But in any event, now, unbeknownst to the American people, this same head chopper, that's what he was, has been installed by the deep state as the new president of Syria. One of my friends said, you know what they did? They gave him a $90,000 Swiss watch. They trimmed his beard and put him in an Armani suit, and now he's supposed to be some sort of enlightened leader, the same guy that Americans sent their sons and they themselves and daughters went overseas to fight, has now been installed, and now known as al-Nasri is welcomed and feted by the White House. It's simply unbelievable how quickly they've sanitized things and rewritten history.
We're talking with our author of the week, Charles Goyette, the book The Empire of Lies: Fragments from the Memory Hole. How much of it, you use example Syria and how we've got one American hand paying fighters to fight fighters that are paid for by the other American hand, and you have what people I think oftentimes recognize as the military-industrial complex, and this belief that these wars are oftentimes created for profit's sake. How much of it is, do you think, purely that versus, all right, you have people that do make money off it, and then you have people in Washington that have access to the weaponry and the tools that they think can solve these problems, the great problem solvers. And so they're almost naive in this sense that, well, we have the ability, and so we have the responsibility. And so they may be doing it, misguided as it may be, out of some genuine belief that they can make things better, while you've got the suppliers of the weaponry that's obviously making money off of it. So how much of it is that versus just, oh, everybody's looking to make money?
Yeah, I could tell you if it's not everybody looking to make money, and yet the track record of the regime change artists, even the ones that consider themselves the intelligentsia and aren't reaping rewards for it, even they have a dismal track record that stretches from Iraq to Libya, which was never a perfect state, but now has open air slave markets, to Syria that I've cited, and others. And so at some point you would think that these people in their judgment would begin to be questioned, but I could give you a better example from the Iraq War. How did it all happen? How did it all happen that this strange coalition came together of different people? Well, yes, there were defense contractors that stood to profit and did, and yes, they were underwriting think tanks that were writing editorials to drive the war, but there were other institutions and interests at work. For example, Karl Rove realized that President Bush polled 10 points better if he was wearing a bomber jacket. So, the idea was, to win the midterm elections, and the war was very good for that. Being seen as a war leader always seems to excite the giddy masses. There were people in the Pentagon that wanted a war for no greater reason than it would create fluidity and promotions in the Pentagon. There were people, I believe I saw Larry Kudlow on TV at the time say, well, one thing, it'll be good for the stock market. That's hardly a good excuse for a war in which millions of people are displaced from their homes and killed as well.
I want to get your thoughts on something, because we've talked about, I of course host this show, and then the talk about, well, there's a conflict between the Trump that says, hey, let's stay out of these wars, and I never got us into a war, and forever wars, these are bad, versus the action that he's taken during this administration of military action, be it the taking out of the nuclear facilities in Iran or the capturing of Maduro in Venezuela. And so, I really play devil's advocate with myself, and so the instinct is, well, wait a minute, this is way out of step. And then I think to myself, okay, well, what if it's this? What if we've been conditioned to assume all interaction, military or usage of our military, even internationally, is by default bad because it's been done so badly so many times? And what if Trump's different? What if instead of like an Iraq situation, Iran, he's like, oh, we'll wrap this thing up in 12 minutes. Or in Venezuela, we're going to go in, capture them, boom. And yeah, we may stick around to try to guide them. But his approach is one that is different. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't know, is this different way perhaps a way that that warrants potential engagement when in the past maybe we shouldn't? What do you think about all that?
Well, I'm been very disheartened with the MAGA people who subscribed to the mottos and the slogans about no more regime change wars, make America great again, American resources for American people, no more regime change wars. How quickly so many of them switched with the Venezuela escapade. But I can tell you that Venezuela was a desired war. The deep state had Venezuela in their crosshairs for a very long time, and only the pretext changed. And I'll give you a concrete example. 10 years ago, Barack Obama issued a national security threat order for the grave national security threat that Venezuela poses to the United States. That was 10 years ago. By the way, it wasn't anything about fentanyl or drugs back then. It was a national security threat. So I went back and I looked at their array of military forces. They couldn't have landed a couple of skiffs on the Gold Coast. They had nothing. They were no more a national security threat to the American people then than they are today. They were a broken down, collapsed, failed economy with limited military resources, and yet that was the pretext at the time. Well, the target has stayed the same, but the pretext for the war changes. It's the new WMDs. There's always a good pretext for these wars. And now I noticed that the president has issued President Trump has now issued a similar national security threat alert for the American people about the grave national security threat posed to us by Cuba. Cuba is as broken as a country gets. I mean, we're so fragile now that Cuba is a grave national security threat to us. There's always a new pretext, and the pretexts evolve, and Trump's pretext for a new action in Iran has evolved as well.
We're talking with our author of the week, Charles Goyette. The book is The Empire of Lies, Fragments from the Memory Hole. I've, over time, evolved into someone that is pretty in line with, just use as an example because he's high-profile, Rand Paul when it comes to engagement in so many of these different, foreign wars or conflicts, however you want to reference it. And to the point where I think, like a lot of, you point out, MAGA people just got to the point there's never any good reason to. I try to, anytime I become very absolute in things, I really try to stay open to the fact that, okay, well, I don't want to be absolute. Are there ever any good reasons? And I guess this is a question I have for you, as I've asked myself, as someone who rarely feels as if many of these engagements in the past were worthy. What, if any, examples, whether it's something that's coming into play now or in recent history, or even just a hypothetical, a scenario in which it would be warranted, it might be a good idea to take a step militarily in the world stage?
Well, I think you're wise to always question yourself, and that's how we refine our thought. And I think it's a good practice for everybody, and I try to engage in it as well. I can tell you this is an indicator for a justifiable war. It's a great indicator when you don't have to draft people, when you don't have to, you don't even have to pay them. If a foreign military force were landing in, Pacific Palisades or on the beaches of Santa Monica or on the Florida coast tomorrow, the American people as one would rise up and take arms and repel the invasion. It doesn't need to be a draft. It doesn't need to be anything else. They know that their homeland, people naturally want to protect their homes, their families, and their countrymen. But when the story morphs day after day after day into the most ridiculous pretext for war, during the Iraq War, the president relied in part, and Tony Blair in England relied in part on a forged document about Iraq's eagerness to acquire yellow cake uranium from Niger. It was forged in a high school. A high school student with Google could have figured out that this document was forged in maybe 15 minutes. It was signed by somebody who wasn't in the government. It used the wrong names and so on and so forth. But somebody wanted the United States in that war badly enough to forge documents and circulate them around through the intelligence agencies. If the war has to be ginned up, if they have to use the myth of war, bunting and flyovers and parades and stuff to excite people, get their hearts pounding and their pulses racing, if they have to do that, then you have to begin to wonder if there's a genuine threat that people would normally recognize on their own.
Before we let you go, just any final thoughts for the readers, what you hope that they walk away with?
Yeah, the trajectory of all of this is grim in my view. The American people are shouldering Washington D.C. debt that cannot be paid off. And that is not an exaggeration. We'll be at $40 trillion by the summer. $40 trillion in national debt. It cannot be paid off except by the expedient of printing money. Boy, if you want to ruin a civilization, you inflate its currency to worthlessness. And that's one of the prices that we're paying for maintaining the global American military empire. It's probably cost us, about $8 trillion over the last 20 or so years. It's unaffordable. The American people want to come home. They want to restore America's prosperity, get rid of the debt overhang, and as Mark Twain said, enjoy a free republic, which they cannot do if they're a global military empire.
Well, I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the book. I enjoy subject matter like this because it isn't necessarily drawn along political lines. And as you noted, you expressed frustration with a lot of sort of, hey, let's stop doing this MAGA people who suddenly seem to be willing to. And I do think that there are a lot of MAGA people, however, that are like, I don't really know about this. This doesn't seem consistent. And so that forces them to kind of think about stuff. And we do that less and less because of our loyalty to one side or the other. And so when you are forced into a position of, now, wait a minute, this seems inconsistent. I need to think about this. I always I like that subject matter. And this certainly, falls within that. And you write a lot of ideas that I think for people, at the very least, think about it and go, I hadn't really thought of it that way. And work that into just figuring out where people stand on stuff. Our author of the week, Charles Goyette, sponsored by ABC Books on North, Glenstone, The Empire of Lies, Fragments from the Memory Hole on Springfield's Talk 104.1. I'm Nick Reed. Sarah Myers, everyone.
Thank you. The Pyramid Roofing Company, with the snow finally melting, that is when roofing issues can pop up. Yellowing on your ceiling, drips around your chimney or your skylights, or maybe even gutter issues. If you are experiencing that right now, you don't have to wait until spring because the Pyramid team, they work year-round. Make sure to reach out to Josh and schedule that free roof inspection. They won't try to upsell you. They'll be upfront and honest about the work that needs to be done, and they take tons of photos and videos so you can see exactly what they see, and then they'll get you all taken care of. They make the process as simple as possible. So if it is time to have the Pyramid team out to your home, reach out to Josh today. You can find all of the contact information for the Pyramid Roofing Company under the Sarah's Endorsements tab at ksgf.com. Springfield's Talk 1041, the first alert forecast from Ozarks First meteorologist Tom Schmidt, sponsored by J&S Automotive. Today we'll see mostly sunny skies with a high near 53. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 34. For your Friday, sunny with a high near 58. And for Saturday, mostly sunny with a high near 51.
I want to talk about something that well, I think it was Candace Owen that kind of got the ball rolling on it, which I don't think will come as a surprise to many people. That is, quote, leaked audio video of Erica Kirk on a Zoom call with Turning Point USA employees after Charlie Kirk's killing. It says days after. I don't know what, 5, 6, 7. I'm not sure how many days. And how during some of the Zoom call with these employees of Turning Point USA, had a couple of, she's laughing and joking with them and talks about the amount of inventory that they have sold over the past week or something, and giving that sort of update. And so, of course, the left never misses an opportunity to rip on her. Because that's what kind, compassionate people do to a widow, is figure out, they microanalyze how she behaves and then decide to publicly rip on her for not behaving in the way that they would, many of these people of which don't even have husbands and probably never will. I'm not somebody that... I don't follow Erica Kirk. Obviously I know who she is to the capacity others are. I think so much of the criticism that has come her way is catty and desperate. But some of it is expected, and I think genuine. People on the left that would criticize her for, well, look how just affectionate she is, and that's weird. That's not weird for everyone. Particularly people that have real loving hearts and that have, and not everyone, is expressive in terms of a loving way. Not everyone, expresses love the same way. But it doesn't surprise me that people on the left find it very unusual to come across someone that is a person that does like to hug and that does it in a meaningful way and, might hold hands with people while talking to them. People on the left not understanding that does not surprise me. when it comes to, and I bring this up because I actually heard some people talking about it in the office place, and there's the Atlanta Black Star with the headline, "You got caught. Erica Kirk plays up the grieving widow after her slip-up and leaked video." And so the whole presentation here is that, apparently she wasn't really sad that he was killed, and that the proof is here she is talking to Turning Point USA employees days after his death, and there are these lighthearted moments, and she's talking business about inventory and so forth, and so that proves that it's all just fake. Well, first of all, if Erica Kirk were, for whatever reason, actually really happy that the father of her children had been murdered in front of the world, and she was just secretly pretending as if she were sad, she probably would not stop pretending in front of people who worked for Charlie Kirk. In fact, those would, in all likelihood, be the people that she would really, quote, turn it on for the most. The suggestion being that the fact that in some moments she's sad and expressive of that sadness, while in other moments she isn't in that exact same mode, demonstrates that one of the two is that must mean it's fake, because you can't be both at the same time. Well, yes, you can. And I would note, everyone, of course, is different, and that doesn't mean that you can't at times identify behavior that does seem somewhat unusual, while at the same time recognizing different people handle death in different ways. Some people are stoic and they don't cry at all. Some people are hysterical and lose their crap everywhere and are inconsolable, and their entire life goes into a completely different trajectory because of it. Some people are somewhere in between. People just deal with these things differently. I mean, I can tell you just from my own family, we're a family that deals with it with humor. I don't think there has been a family funeral with immediate family that, and I've been to a lot of them, that I've been to in which at some point some of us aren't laughing about something. Now, again, not everyone's that way. That's how my family is. The thing, however, that, and I thought, I just felt compelled to talk about this, that of all the, the past criticism and so forth of the way that she's not behaving properly and oh, she's faking it, that really, I don't know, I just had no interest in necessarily talking about it, but this latest idea that, this leaked video where she's talking to Turning Point USA employees, and it was just days afterwards, and while at times she seemed sad, well, then she starts talking about how many hats they sold and so forth. And listen, here's the thing. This is the reality of it. Erica Kirk was intelligent enough to recognize that she was going to be, whether it would be official or, because I don't know at what point and how all that transaction took place, but she had a responsibility. That she understood that Turning Point USA was filled with, I don't know how many people, employees, that depend on that place for an income, that had no idea if they were going to have jobs tomorrow. These were people, many of which were also had personal relationship with Charlie Kirk, and so that already was something that was clearly a devastating event in their lives as a human being, as a friend to Charlie Kirk. But you add on to that, particularly if you have kids, you don't know what this means for your job. You don't know what this means for Turning Point USA. And Erica Kirk was smart enough to know that when you have people that are going to be looking to you as the person that, at least in a potential transition of leadership, for, looking to you as to what is going to happen next, and that it probably isn't best to just break down and sob hysterically over a Zoom call with absolutely no display of stability. Now, I understand people who have never been in a leadership position or understand what it takes to be in a leadership position not getting that, because that isn't something that you have ever lived through. But that is a reality. The second season of Landman began with the aftermath of the oil tycoon character dying. John Hamm played the owner of this massive oil company, and he died unexpectedly. Now, if you haven't seen the first season, sorry if I blew that for you, but the second season's already completed, so I feel like I'm in pretty safe territory here, giving that part away. And what then occurs, Demi Moore, his wife, is going to be taking over the company. And one of the things that she recognized was that there were going to be a massive amount of people that they were just looking to pounce and take advantage of the vacuum of leadership that company would have on the marketplace. And she knew that the one thing she could not do was give any sort of hint that there was anything other than a continuation of operations as usual, because the first sign of instability or weakness would be something that people would try to exploit to do harm to the company. While a massive oil company is clearly a company that deals with different challenges and marketing components, that's going to be different than Turning Point USA, but the reality is the same. When there is some sort of massively unexpected transition of leadership that takes place, those are very serious make it or break it moments. And the one thing that can all but be guaranteed that will lead to the eventual destruction of a company or a movement or an institution is if people sense that there really is no leadership, that whomever is in control is not actually in control. And Erica Kirk recognized that. So when she gets on a Zoom call with people that are Turning Point USA employees who's, and for a lot of them, it's not just a job, but it is a true movement that they care about. And the irony is here, more than anyone, Erica Kirk is the person that probably deserved and at times needed the actual support, but she recognized that all of those people on that call were looking to her for support. We're looking for her to give them a sense of stability and security. And she was mature enough and strong enough to do that. And that means that while, of course, yes, as she would do, talk about Charlie and the emotional part of it, but at the same time, expressing a sense of normalcy. Giving these employees a sense everything's going to be okay. Look, in fact, silver lining that because people are seeing what it is that Charlie did and what Turning Point USA did, so many millions of eyes are on it for the first time. That's reflective in the fact that they are calling about memberships. They're wanting to purchase materials. This is all good news. Her demonstration of leadership and the recognition that she had to do the tough thing there, and she was the one that needed to be the post of stability for all of those employees and give them a sense of security that things were not only going to be moving forward, but doing so in a way that might even be bigger and stronger than before. That is not in any way, shape, or form Erica Kirk getting, quote, caught in some sort of scam that she really didn't care that he was killed and she really isn't the grieving widow. The sad thing is, particularly for people on the left who go on and on virtue signaling, these lefty women that love to portray themselves as strong, independent women, what Erica Kirk displayed, both publicly and in a leadership position on that Zoom call or whether it was Zoom or whatever form. But point being is that is a strong woman. And I find it pretty interesting that every time the people, particularly on the left, women who scream the loudest about how strong and independent they are, when they see someone who is a strong, independent woman, genuinely so, they attack her. And Erica Kirk is no exception. Springfield's Talk 104.1, I'm Nick Reed. Ozarks elder law. I guess it's an appropriate time to talk about that. In fact, we're talking about Turning Point USA and Erica Kirk, and there were some of those subsequent conversations about Charlie Kirk had stuff in play. What would ever happen? What should happen with finances, with Turning Point USA, should he and when he would leave this earth? And though it was probably earlier than, of course, anyone hoped, except for some people on the left, the smoothness of transition that occurred was a result of him planning ahead. And while that might be on a much more massive scale, financially speaking, than what you deal with in your life or what your parents or your grandparents or anyone within your family, it still is something that you need to make sure is taken care of, so those smooth transitions take place instead of government stepping in and then you have to prove to them that this is what would have been wanted, and this was the intent. And really, it doesn't matter whether it is or not if the people in government say they don't care. They're the ones in power and charge, unless you have that protection shield, if you will, of those legal documents from Ozarks elder law. What do you need to have done to make sure you're protected? I can't tell you. They can. And that knowledge, which is perhaps the most valuable part of all of it, is a courtesy they provide to you at no cost. 10 area locations. Even if you think, well, I don't have anything. All I got to my name's an old pickup truck. Trust me. Odds are there's something you need to do. And if you don't, then you'll know. It doesn't cost you anything to find out either which way. OzarksElderLaw.com. Also, Nick's endorsements at KSGF.com. I want to read a text because it is a very important component to the previous segment regarding Erica Kirk and the criticisms of her behavior in this new so-called leaked video that proves, she got caught. She's not really a grieving widow. And the text came in that said, they also don't understand strength of character and faith. And this is so true. I've often just intellectually wondered, and at the same time felt a bit of sadness for people who aren't Christians, and I guess even more specifically, just people who don't even believe in whatever afterlife, so forth. Death must be such a more devastating thing to them than somebody like me who understands and recognizes the reality of God and Christ and the afterlife and what those things mean. And people who don't understand that can't also understand the element of comfort that exists for people who do have that understanding when a loved one dies. It doesn't mean when somebody you care about dies that their absence doesn't hurt, that it doesn't mean you don't long for them. It doesn't mean that your heart doesn't break. But at the same time, you know that they are truly in a place that is so much more wonderful than where we are now. It cannot be comprehended. And that one day we will reunite. It's similar to if you have, a loved one that is moving away for a year, going away. Yes, you miss them. You're sad. You cry when you're at the airport. But at the same time, you're going to see them again. And so that experience is much different than if somebody that you love is moving away and you're never going to see them again here on earth. Those are two different experiences. They're both sad, but one of them we will be reunited. And Erica Kirk, as a Christian, has that comfort. And so there's a baseline of comfort there that does get surrounded by the sadness in the moment and the event that will come and go and have its levels of severity. But when it really comes down to it, that comfort exists. And people who don't know that, they will see and not understand oftentimes the behavior of people who do have that comfort. And that recognition of the reality of people who don't get that, it isn't a criticism. I really, if you just had a magic wand, you'd love for everyone to understand that truth and reality, because I genuinely feel bad for people who don't have that. And so the person who texted in, the folks who are critical of Erica Kirk's behavior, in addition to the reasons that I had mentioned in the previous segment, a lot of it too is the lack of understanding of strength of character and faith in particular. Another quick break, more in moments. I'm Nick Reed. All right, so apparently on it's like a Kamala Harris site or something that all right, well, let me just put it this way. There is a video that is circulating, and it is a video of a login at Kamala HQ, and it shows somebody logging in, and then pops up the word tomorrow. And this is speculation that she is going to apparently today be making some announcement. Running for president maybe, or not, or whatever. Now, of course, it could also be something completely off the wall and nutty, but this is something that is circulating out there, and so that speculation is an announcement of some sort or something regarding Kamala Harris is going to be happening today, so we shall see. By the way, there's I'm going to save that for tomorrow. We talked earlier about Democrat candidates, and there is a hopeful that is under the radar in terms of the mass public consumption, and it is the Democrat governor of Maryland, Wes Moore, and he is a black man, and he has long shared the story of his background and how his grandfather was a preacher in South Carolina, but in the middle of the night had to get the family together and flee to escape the Klan that was after him and go down to Jamaica, where they lived for a while before coming back here. It's this sort of just amazing American dream story. Well, there's been some digging done, and according to all of the historical evidence that's available, none of this is true. That while his grandfather was a preacher, it was at a church that was very welcomed and supported by the white community. The Klan wasn't even active in that portion of South Carolina, and he went to Jamaica in order to fill in for a minister at a church there who had unexpectedly passed away. The response to a query about the story inconsistencies from his campaign is that the person asking the question is a racist. Well, of course. Glenn Beck's